Hello and welcome to this special conversation. With me is the Israeli ambassador to India, Ambassador Reuven Azar. Ambassador Azar, welcome to Firstpost.
Thank you, Parky, for this interview.
It's interesting that we are having this conversation on this day because it's an auspicious day both in India and Israel. In India, we're marking the beginning of Navratri, which leads up to the Shera, when we celebrate the killing of Reuvan by Lord Ram. And in Israel, it's Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the new year. I think you say Shana Tova to each other.
That's exactly so.
A good year ahead is what you wish, but given the circumstances, do you see a good year ahead?
Well, in the mood of Navratri, we have to fight evil. We have not only the right, but the duty to fight evil. And what has happened in the last year against Israel is sheer evil. We were attacked in a completely unprovoked way, this atrocious attack on the 7th of October that has taken the life of innocent people, with rape, burning of families, killing children, parents in front of their children. Terrible things that we have never seen in Israel and we have never seen since World War II. We tried to confine our war against Hamas, but Iran decided that it's not enough, it's not good for her. Iran, which has built this ring of fire against us, for decades, they have been supplying these weapons of mass destruction, training, financing these proxies. They have seen that we neutralize the capabilities of Hamas. They have seen that we are neutralizing the capabilities of Hezbollah. And they decided to attack us directly. And not for the first time. We have the duty to retaliate. Because imagine that we wouldn't retaliate. What would be the consequences, not only for Israel, for the region and for the world, that a country in flagrant violation of international law, sends hundreds of missiles to terrorize another country. If it's not being answered, what will be the future of the world? Will countries adopt such conduct? So we are sorry that enough pressure wasn't put on the Iranian regime, because we sent messages, multiple messages, through many countries, including India.
To Iran?
To Iran.
Saying what?
Saying that they shouldn't attack Israel because the price will be dear.
But what do you say to the critics who say that you left them no choice really, because the provocations from the Israeli side were, and I say this with full understanding of how this situation has evolved, and everyone maintains, including the Prime Minister of India, who said many times that there is no place for terrorism in our world. But at the same time, your allies are also talking about a proportionate response. And the events that we've seen in the last 6 months, with the killing of the Hamas chief in Tehran and the Hezbollah chief in Beirut and so on and so forth, it is said that Israel left the Iranians no choice but to strike. So the question is, who is retaliating?
Well, that's actually a joke. We first of all, congratulate the Prime Minister of India and the people of India and the government of India that they have a clear position on fighting terrorism. But we are disappointed that the rest of the world is not clear enough when it comes to putting pressure on this regime, because you know very well that Israel is the one that has been attacked. That Iran, the only reason that Iran sees no choice but attacking us is because of their ideology. They are the only country in the world, I don't know if you know that it has sworn to destroy another country. That's completely unacceptable. And they are pursuing this path systematically. When we put in danger their path by removing their tentacles of this octopus from the region, then they decide to attack directly. That's their true face, because so far we've seen for the last 30 years how they were actually using their proxies and sacrificing only Arabs and Arab nations in order to attack Israel. But they were sitting back, relaxing. Now they finally decided to be involved directly, not for the first time. Israel actually was very restrained, if you remember, in April, when they launched this barrage of missiles against us.
But they gave fair warning to your allies, and you knew what was coming, and it was called a performative strike. It was not meant to be a strike that causes damage.
Really?
I'm asking you.
Well, you maybe don't know, but in each one of these ballistic missiles that were fired against us, there is a payload of 700 to 1,000 kilograms of explosives that is capable of destroying an entire building. This kind of ballistic missiles were never launched in the history of the world.
Yeah.
And you are telling me that were not meaning to harm? It's ridiculous.
I'm playing the devil's advocate. I have to ask you the questions that are being raised in this conversation, a larger conversation that the world is having. You said the rest of the world does not have a clear position on fighting terrorism. Does it include some of your allies? Do you think that some of them are? Would you want to name some countries that are not clear on how to fight?
Well, we have been talking with our European friends for decades about the dangers of Iran and what they are doing in the region. And we told them that these capabilities that Iranians are creating are going to damage not only Israel, not only to terrorize the region of the Middle East, but also are going to hit European interests. What we are seeing right now is that Iranian missiles actually are hitting European soil. So our warnings were not met with a serious response.
From Europe?
Yes, and I'm sure that if people understand what is the danger that is coming from a country that decided to equip the rugged elements on earth with advanced technology that even conventional armies don't have, what are the consequences for peace in the world? Because these technologies, I rest assured, they are going to reach other areas. What are you going to do as a country when you are attacked by a terrorist organization that has ballistic missiles? Are you prepared for that?
What has been the response of the Americans in closed-door conversations? Because we've seen the Biden administration repeatedly draw so-called red lines that Israel chose sometimes to not respect. We've heard from the US president now saying that the response should be proportionate and that nuclear installations should not be the target in Iran. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, we are having intensive communications with our American friends who have been supporting us in really a great way. We are thankful to the administration, to American Congress, and to the American people that are very supportive of the state of Israel. However, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies on the elected government of Israel to defend the citizens of Israel. And as a sovereign nation, we have to take the right decisions to create a situation in which these terrorists and this rogue regime in Iran will be deterred from continuing attacking us. They already said that they are going to retaliate again. Okay. So we are not afraid of that. They are not going to terrorize that. And that we are not going to be terrorized from them. And that has to be very clear.
So are Iranian nuclear and oil installations on target? Are they on the table?
I'm not going to get into specifics. This is up to the Israeli government to decide. There are capabilities that we may have, we may not have. I'm not going to speculate about that. I don't have the information. At the end of the day, the government of Israel has the right information, and they know what is feasible, what is not feasible, and I'm not going to answer at this point instead of them because I don't know.
And do you think that the US will continue to support the Israeli actions in this war, irrespective of how far you choose to go?
Well, I think that there is basic support for Israel within the American people, and we've seen complete support for our action against Hezbollah. The Americans know very well how much we have worked with them in order to try to prevent escalation in the north. But you have to understand, we have responsibility on 70,000 people that have been evacuated from the north. They have to come back. And when we finally targeted the leaders of Hezbollah, we were applauded by the United States.
Yeah. We saw that the damage in the attack on Tuesday was more compared to what happened in April, and there were questions raised on what happened to the security system. We also realized that about 200 missiles were fired at the same time, so it can overwhelm any system. The question is, did the Iron Dome fail?
Well, first of all, Iron Dome is a system. I'll go, with your permission, to some technicalities. Okay, Iron Dome is a system that deals mainly with short-range missiles. We have different layers in our air defense systems, including David Sling and Arrow 1, 2, and 3. Ballistic missiles usually are being foiled either with Arrow 3 or with fighter jets and other systems. So the difference between the barrage on 30th of April and the barrage now is that on 13th of April, it was a combination of missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones. This was actually a barrage of the most sophisticated ballistic missiles Iran possesses. We were actually very successful because, first of all, despite the fact that they fired that, the only tragic result was the killing of an innocent Palestinian in Jericho, a Palestinian from Gaza. And all these missiles have missed the target. They didn't damage any military installation, and they fell on open areas, on places that are completely, completely non-lethal, and they didn't hit the targets that they were intended to hit. The important thing is that 10 million people in Israel had to go to shelters. Which country would agree to such a situation? So, despite the fact that we were very successful, we are going to continue to be determined in order to deal with that threat.
The Israeli security establishment is being lauded for the kind of intelligence network that you've been able to create and how you've penetrated the enemy rank and file. Is that, according to you, was that the game changer in how you've progressed in the past few weeks?
Well, I think it is because we surprised Hezbollah big time, and everybody knows that. We have managed to take out the entire leadership, and we knew that the Hezbollah threat was a significant threat. So unlike the situation on the 7th of October, in which we failed, both intelligence-wise and operational-wise, when it came to the Hamas attack, I think that when it comes to Hezbollah, we had more time to prepare, and we invested more resources in preparing for that. And the same goes with Iran. The Iranians might be surprised from our capabilities.
That's interesting. Do you want to elaborate on that?
No.
No? I understand why. What's the end game for Israel at this point? I mean, what is the goal that you guys have set for yourself in this war?
What we want to do was defined by the Israel Security Cabinet. First of all, we want our hostages back from Gaza, and we want to prevent Hamas from rearming and regrouping. We already have most of our residents in the south back in their homes. In the north, we want to bring safely our population back to their homes by removing the infrastructure that Hezbollah has prepared on the other side of the border to attack them in order for them to feel safe to go home. We want to reach a ceasefire that will implement UN Security Council 1701 and 1559. And we want to make sure that the Iranians will not launch attacks like that again in the future.
How do you do that?
Well, by retaliating.
I like that you keep saying retaliating. What is the position of the Arab nations? Are you engaging with them? Do you think that they're going to support Iran given their own fraught history? Where do you see the Arab powers stand in this widening conflict?
Actually, it's a very interesting question because what we are seeing is that there is a common concern from the aggressive approach that Iran has been showing. And therefore, during this war, we have seen intensifying coordination between us under American umbrella and our neighbors, because they also want to create an area of stability and prosperity. We have these plans to create connectivity, to create a platform of connecting India and Asia, East Asia, to Europe, and this cannot be done if we don't secure a security regime that is capable of sustaining a political stability and economic cooperation. So we have to make sure that these rogue elements do not threaten that. And therefore, the work that we are doing right now is going to determine to what degree we will be able in the future to engage in cooperation and in prosperity. So these are very important days that are going to define the destiny of our region for a very long time.
But at this point, do you see the Arab regime standing by Iran as it says that we will continue to strike Israel if there is an escalation from the other side?
I don't know, maybe you can remind me. I haven't seen any Arab state actually backing Iran. Have you?
As we speak, the president of Iran is in Qatar, and we've heard some interesting statements from the Emir of Qatar, who's calling this a collective genocide. How do you respond to that?
Well, the Qataris are very, very famous for their hypocrisy. On the one hand, they are leaning on the American army to defend them, and on the other hand, they are attacking the West and American and democratic values by promulgating their messages through Al Jazeera channel. So they are not very trustworthy.
Is that your message to Tehran, your counsel to Tehran? They're not trustworthy?
Well, I'm not in the business of counseling Tehran.
Well said. What about your engagements with India? What has the conversation been like? Like I said before, India has very clearly stated on multiple occasions that there is no place for terrorism in our world. At the same time, as recent as this week, Minister Jaishankar questioned Israel's war tactics in Gaza. So there are concerns about the humanitarian situation that is developing in the wake of this war. What have your conversations with New Delhi been like?
Well, first of all, as I said, we are very pleased with the fact that India has a clear message when it comes to fighting terrorism. And we understand why many of our friends are concerned. We are actually following this very closely, and we are engaging, not only with them, but also with other international players and agencies to supply humanitarian assistance to the Gaza Strip, to make sure that people do not suffer hunger or medical difficulty. But we have to be very concentrated in the target, because at the end of the day, this cannot impede a situation in which the terrorists will have their day. We have to create a situation in which the region is capable of building a brighter future for itself. And therefore, as I said, these are very, very important days that are going to determine the future. And the degree in which we are going to succeed or fail are going to determine whether in the future we'll be able to create stability in the region.
Is India asking you to take a ceasefire deal?
Well, right now, in our conversations, there is no deal on the table when it comes to Iran. The Iranians have sworn to destroy us.
There have been deals on the table in the recent past, including the one that came up last week when the UN General Assembly was on, and there was a lot of talk, and the Americans said that there is going to be a deal, and then Prime Minister Netanyahu subsequently said that there is no deal, the war will go on. So we've heard talks of deals come out.
You are talking about the situation in Lebanon. Okay?
Yes. So I'm saying there have been
So there's a difference between what's happening with Iran and what happened in Lebanon. We will not agree to a ceasefire that doesn't allow the safe return of our citizens to their house. And therefore, 1701 has to be implemented. If we are offered a ceasefire that will not include the implementation of 1701, we're going to refuse, yes.
My limited question was that in the past few months, there have been many ceasefire deals that various players have worked on. Has India at any point called up Israel and said, you should take a ceasefire deal?
To the best of my knowledge, India hasn't been involved in offering specific ceasefire deals.
Do you see India as a potential mediator in this conflict?
Well, it's up to India to decide what their role is going to be. I think that India is playing a very important role in our region. I think that what India is offering the region actually should be grabbed by the countries of the region, because India is a rising power. India is becoming one of the most important economies in the world. India has a lot of things to offer to our region in trade, in manufacturing, in commercialization, in innovation, cooperation. And therefore, I think many countries in the region are eager to engage with India in order to create a better future for us all.
How do you see China's role in this conflict? They've been working with the Palestinians. China has a very big deal in motion with the Iranians as well, a 25-year-old $400 billion investment plan and so on and so forth. Do you see China in the Iranian camp as you face off with the Iranians?
Well, you use the term plan. You know, any plan is not real if it cannot be implemented. In a situation that Iran continues attacking other countries, I don't think that any plan can work, because stability is not going to be part of the region and no economic investment is possible. So the Chinese haven't been supporting this attack of Iran against Israel. I haven't seen that. What I have seen is some attempts to deal with the Palestinian question. There is a civil war going on between Palestinian factions since 2007.
Yeah.
this war hasn't ended. And it is connected to a larger war that is going on in the region between those who have a nationalistic approach and those who are having a radical Islamic approach that want to create a caliphate in the region. So within Palestinian society, there is a fight going on between Hamas and Fatah that didn't end. Hamas people threw Palestinian Authority out of Gaza in 2007 and created this regime of terror. And since then, the Arab countries, Russia, and now also China are trying to solve it. They failed. I wish there will be a day in which the Palestinian people will finally get to the conclusion that the best path for them is not trying to destroy Israel, but to build their own self-rule in their own country. And believe me, when this day comes, Israel will be there to sign a peace deal with Palestinians. Because we already signed peace with Egypt, we signed peace with Jordan, we made peace in the Abraham Accords with the UAE, with Bahrain, with Sudan, with Morocco, and we will for sure grab opportunities for peace because we are a democracy and our people, we have a conscription army, we have people that are volunteering to defend our country. And the first thing they want is to go back to their homes safely and to have a peaceful future with their families.
Thank you. That was a very comprehensive answer, and it sort of puts a lot of things on record. But if, you know, when countries look at an escalating situation, they think of allies, partners, and adversaries, or people who may support the other camp. Where do you place China?
Well, China is a friendly country of Israel. We have relations with them. We are trading, just like India is. So we don't have an issue, we don't have a conflict with China.
I don't remember any Indian leader saying China is a friendly country, but
well,
please go ahead.
they've been so far friendly to us. I think their approach on the international stage when it comes to the Palestinian question, another question, is wrong. And we've been telling them that. We have been criticizing their approach. We have this dialogue with them, as we have with many countries. At the end of the day, there is a difference between countries that are sworn enemies that want to destroy you and countries that are willing to engage with you. And China hasn't sworn to destroy the state of Israel.
Do you think the Iranian strike on Israel had the blessings of Russia because it happened just a day after the Russian Prime Minister met the leadership in Tehran?
I'm not aware that there is such coordination.
Do you think that Russia will stand by Iran if this escalates?
I don't know.
What complicates the situation is the domestic political scene in America. They're heading into an election in about a month from now. And we know that there is bipartisan support for Israel, but it appears that there is more support from the Republican camp, or so they try to project. What do you think a Trump presidency, if it were to come to that, would mean for this regional conflict?
Well, Israel, because of that bipartisan support, will always find a way to work with any American administration. What we need from any American administration is resolve to confront the enemies of peace, to confront the terrorists and the rogue nations, and when we reach that, then we feel that this relationship is continuing to go in the right path. So whatever the results of the American election will be, Israel will remain thankful to America, cooperating with America, and continue to, expand our projects of cooperation in defense, in economy, in technology, in every aspect of life.
So it doesn't matter who wins?
Well, it will matter to a certain extent because there will be maybe different foreign policies that we'll have to approach. But it won't change the support of the American Congress, American people in the state of Israel, and this bond that's really unbreakable between Israel and the United States.
As things stand today, do you think Lebanon will become the battle for a proxy war, the battleground for a proxy war between Iran and Israel?
Well, this has been the case for the last 30 years. Since Iran has been supporting Hezbollah, financing it with $1 billion per year, transferring all these technologies, all these weapons, Hezbollah took hostage the state of Lebanon. And they have actually created a situation in which war between Lebanon and Israel is inevitable because Hezbollah is determined to destroy the state of Israel. So the question is, what will it take to change that situation? At this point, we are not interfering in the political order in Lebanon. What we want to achieve is the limited goals that the government has decided to pursue, and that's bringing our residents in the north back safely to their homes.
What would you say to the families of the Indians who are in Israel, a very large number now?
Here we have a policy of keeping all the workers in Israel, from whichever country they have, and of course including India, in safe places. And we are monitoring the situation in a way that the companies that are bringing the workers are instructed not to put any worker in danger when it comes to attacks in the north or the south.
Ambassador Azar, I want to end by asking not the ambassador of Israel to India, but an Israeli citizen who also has family back home. It's been a difficult year for all of you, for the people of your country. How are they dealing with it? What is life like right now?
Well, we have some relatives that are part of the military effort. We weren't sure that they would celebrate with us Rosh Hashanah. Fortunately, one of my nephews that is serving for many, many long days in the reserve has been able to come back home to celebrate with the family. But, if I have to convey to you the spirit of our people, it's a very strong spirit. It's really very moving how the Israeli people have raised to the cause. We are resilient, and we are going to win this war.
I wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for having this conversation with us.
Thank you.